joined once again by TJ Houshmandzadeh and LeVar Arrington. Time for the most fearless discussion in sports. All right, let's return to the NFL. Hall of Fame NFL executive Bill Polian made news this week by admitting he was wrong for stating before the 2018 NFL Draft that Baltimore Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson should switch to wide receiver. Polian walked back his pre-draft analysis to longtime NFL reporter Jared Bell of USA Today. Polian told Bell, "I was wrong because I used the old traditional quarterback standard with him, which is clearly why John Harbaugh and Ozzie Newsome were more prescient than I was." Polian's walkback sparked Bell to write that Polian's original critique of Jackson smacked the barriers that many athletic African-American quarterbacks faced in previous decades. Jared Bell is a friend of mine. He's been one of the top football writers for at least 2 decades. But we, black people in the sports media, need to find a new way to talk about black NFL quarterbacks who get criticized. Bill Polian wasn't being racist or biased or smacking old barriers when he said Lamar Jackson should consider playing wide receiver. Bill Polian simply offered a bad opinion about a quarterback prospect. The Dolphins selected Dan Marino at the bottom of the first round of the 1983 draft because there were widespread rumors that Marino was a drug and party boy at the University of Pittsburgh. Damn near everyone said Terry Bradshaw was too stupid to play quarterback in the NFL. Black Cowboys linebacker Hollywood Henderson said Bradshaw couldn't spell cat. Bradshaw once said John Elway couldn't read defenses. My boy Jeff George, Mel Kiper attacked everything about his character. The point is, NFL quarterback is a high-altitude, high-turbulence position. Criticism and bad opinions go along with the job. It's like being president. If you can't withstand the inevitable turbulence, you're not fit for the position. So far, Lamar Jackson is handling the turbulence quite well. He's used the criticism as motivation. It's his groupies in the media who have struggled. They're the people acting like Polian's misguided opinion is the equivalent of Jackson being banished to the Canadian Football League like Warren Moon was 40 years ago. It's no longer 1978. Black NFL quarterbacks now get treated like white NFL quarterbacks. Russell Wilson is the highest paid player in football. Wilson, Deshaun Watson, and Lamar Jackson are the leading candidates for the league MVP. Dak Prescott is going to get overpaid the same as Jared Goff and Carson Wentz. 72% of NFL players are black. Let's quit treating those players like special needs children who we must place in a protective bubble. Lamar Jackson is a grown man. He can survive all the same media abuse Terry Bradshaw did. All this whining about a bad opinion makes us look like we're not man enough to handle the turbulence that comes standard with high-profile, high-altitude positions of leadership. All right, guys, are black quarterbacks still treated differently than white quarterbacks?
Dang.
Most fearless show in sports, bro.
Oh, man.
Come on.
I almost wholeheartedly, I'm 90 percentile with you. But there is something that needs to be discussed, and I would love for us as a collective to come to new ground, new understanding on this. Because I understand that Bill Polian gave a bad opinion. We all do. But why? I think that's a fair question, and how did you get there? Okay, I know Bill Polian, worked with him, it felt like daily for years while I was at ESPN. We'll vouch for his character. I don't care what y'all say. He's like, to me, one of the godfathers of football. His intelligence just exudes in everything he does. That said, there's an implicit bias that I see in this situation. I'm going to give you an example, and we know that example. It's going to be low-hanging fruit, Tim Tebow, but let me tell you why I'm going to bring up that example. True equality is the ability to be normal. Not a superstar, not extraordinary, just normal. Now, Chris Rock famously laughs and jokes about how he's a superstar comedian, his neighbor's just a dentist, a white guy. And he's like, that's my neighborhood. Normal people and me, superstar. Because is there real equality in terms of economic mobility? I'll couch that to say this about Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow had his struggles as a quarterback in NFL, but when he was making the transition to the NFL, former Heisman Trophy winner, no one came out of record that I know of this level that said,
maybe you should be
maybe you should do something else. Now, once he was allowed the ability, the opportunity to fail, people started to say, H-back, tight end, might be smart for you. Okay, you can disagree, I'm gonna give it back to you. So here's the thing. Lamar Jackson, a Heisman Trophy winner, meaning I'm the best player in college football, and I play quarterback, was told, was asked, maybe he used to switch positions and not have the ability or the opportunity to fail. To me, that's not a normal circumstance, and that's why I wanted to bring that one snag in what I registered from Bill Polian.
They are still slightly treated differently. It's slightly. When your Whitlock, it swayed me a little bit. But when you look at it and you delve into it, it was very recent. Mitchell Trubisky was drafted ahead of Deshaun Watson. And if you base it,
Jamarcus Russell was drafted ahead of a lot of people.
But that's far and few between. That's far and few between.
Keely Smith,
a black quarterback has to prove himself more. You said Dak Prescott's going to get overpaid. Probably. But he has to prove himself. He was drafted in the 4th round. He was underdrafted. Russell Wilson was underdrafted.
Tom Brady.
But
Drew Brees.
Drew Brees was a 2nd-round pick.
That's underdrafted. He's going to the Hall of Fame.
You look at it now. Lamar Jackson, it was almost disrespectful. You have to play where you can't throw the ball. Give him a chance.
One guy said that.
But this one guy, has been, is what you said,
Hall
people
of Fame
considering a godfather of football because of what he did with the Panthers, the Colts.
I want to use Tebow. I want to use Tebow just as the example. I'm going to use Tebow as the example.
Say that clean. Say that clean.
Tebow, there were a lot of people that thought he wasn't an NFL quarterback who said so instantly.
Not to change his position.
No,
they said you're going to struggle.
Again, everybody, I thought from the word go is H-back. But the difference between Tebow and Lamar is, and this is really about where the NFL has moved in that short time frame, is you've now had an NFL organization go, you know what? I'm going all in on Lamar Jackson's running skills and his abilities. No organization was ever willing to do that for Tim Tebow. The Denver Broncos never built an offense specifically for Tebow's skill sets. We've transitioned.
You don't think John Fox, when they went on that playoff run?
No, not like they're
He was throwing the ball 10 times a game.
I got it, but there was no run offense built around Tim Tebow. Football has moved. Baltimore has done something unique, and first time I think we've ever seen it in the NFL for any quarterback, just going all in on the
Baltimore did something unique because who was there in the position of power to make?
John Harbaugh and Ozzie Newsome.
Ozzie Newsome, yes. Let's keep talking. Go Lamar. Yeah, let's hear this.
Are black people in general societies treated differently now? Now, answer the question.
Okay, hold on. Let me stop you there. Let me stop you there.
All right.
You do realize that professional athletes are not treated the way the overwhelming majority of African Americans are.
You do.
So let's don't lump.
You do realize.
Let's don't lump my mama, my brother, and all these other people in with athletes. Athletes get treated differently. If the rest of the world operated like athletics, it looked more like the NBA and the NFL. So don't lump athletes in with everybody else.
I don't know what he was doing. He ain't finished. Let's see.
Okay,
Go ahead.
So here we go. And the answer is no. The answer after all of that is still no.
Right.
Football, sports in general, is a microcosm of the greater whole. So I'm not lumping them. I am categorizing. Sport is just another category that represents a microcosm of the total whole of the society and the culture that is driven.
Here's where I disagree with you, LeVar.
That's fine.
Sports operates more effectively, more fairly with race than the rest of society. That's just a fact. Much of the progress we've made here in America can be directly attributed to our success in sports. And trailblazers
I would disagree with you, and I would argue and say that the glass house and ceiling that is created within sports would lend to create the actual, this is...
Russell Wilson has a glass ceiling.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does, because once you leave...
He's being cheated. Patrick Mahomes has got a glass ceiling.
I'm not saying they're being cheated. What I'm saying is they fit into what their identity is and what defines them as that athlete playing in the game.
Again, who defines the athlete? The athlete or some other people? Bill Polian doesn't define Lamar Jackson, me, or anybody else, and that's why Lamar Jackson's out there balling.
All right, you don't go as far as to say that they're doing the defining. What I'm saying is they're fitting into the microcosm of what our culture represents. So whether they make more money than the average human being in doing their profession, whether they get more airtime and being able to be on television, there's still a glass ceiling based upon what their racial background is. And that's just keeping it way 100 real.
Again, Russell Wilson is probably going to win the MVP, is the highest paid football player in the NFL. What ceiling, where does he need to go to where you can say there is no glass ceiling? What does he need to do?
We're saying, are they
twice
treated,
as high paid?
We're saying, are they treated differently?
Now, Russell Wilson has gotten past
are they treated differently than white quarterbacks?
Well, let me say this. Let me say this. What's happening here, I don't think you guys are arguing the same thing.
We're probably not.
Yeah. Respect. We can have a long-ass segment if y'all want to do that.
Yeah.
I would circle back to opportunity, because what opportunity gives you the spectrum to do is either be properly rewarded or properly penalized. But we're talking about a level playing field of reward and penalty. There is no glass ceiling in the NFL. Let's just be real. But the conversation does go to, is there the same in terms of congruent penalty? When you talk about if a black quarterback fails and a white quarterback fails, will they be the same? But that's not even my point. This is what the real issue is, and this is so nuanced. You can say that there is no greater penalty for a black quarterback, but here's what happens. When you have a criticism that will choke the opportunity away from the next, that's why it becomes few and far between. As Lamar Jackson is a double minority in the NFL. He's a black quarterback.
Are there any black quarterbacks
Let me finish
in the NFL?
this. He's a black quarterback, and he's a running quarterback, making him a running black quarterback.
How many black quarterbacks coming into the NFL have not had running attached to their name? How many?
How many black?
How many black quarterbacks?
Patrick Mahomes.
No, a lot.
No,
a lot. I don't go there.
No.
A lot. Jacoby Brissett.
Athleticism.
Jacoby Brissett.
Athleticism.
Dwayne Haskins just went in the first round. Marcel, LeVar, we got to stick to facts.
Yeah, I was going there, but
go ahead, Marcel.
I don't know where I'm at right now. But all I got to say is this. This is the real of it all. The only harm that comes from a guy like Bill Polian saying something like this, the only harm, and this is you maybe even reaching for it, is that it will influence the minds of someone else to not give the same opportunity.
And so
that's all I can grab from this.
If I'm Terry Bradshaw watching this at home, and he was called every idiot in the world by white sports writers, black player said he couldn't spell cat. Again, if he can deal with it and handle it, why can't we?
We can. But it's not leaning. It's not leaning into the limitation of the stereotype. What you call Terry Bradshaw something like that, that's an anomaly at best. You say a running quarterback can't play the position. All of a sudden you're leaning.
That's the point I'm trying to make.
Everybody in a leadership, high-profile leadership position that's well paid. Man, there's so much turbulence and criticism.
Oh, yeah, all day.
Because there's jealousy and hate, and that's all this is.
But
if you ascend to that position, quarterback, trust me, people are going to rip and criticize you. Your character, everything about you is going to be questioned.
Yeah.
That's what goes along with the position. And either we're man enough for it, or we're going to sit around and whine about it.
But
oh, my God, they said this and that.
It's a fair point,
You're
but where it comes from, the how and...
The how and the why is all I wanted to bring up.
That's it. We finished saying that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We coming back. Mustard on the beat.
Where is it coming from?
One Cowboys insider says